arrival in the Duat Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten. 1336 BCE, 18th Dynasty. The air in the great palace is thick, not with incense, but with fear. The sun disk, the Aten, dips below the western cliffs, and its rays, which once ended in caressing hands, now seem to withdraw in cold finality. For 17 years, this city had known only the blinding, singular truth of its God. Now, in the sudden twilight, the familiar shadows of the old gods, the ones banished from every temple, feel alien and predatory. In the royal apartments, the Pharaoh is still. Akhenaten, the living embodiment of the Aten, is dead. His great royal wife, Nefertiti, is gone. His new capital is an unfinished monument to a god who will no longer answer. A shimmer of light, a flutter of human-headed life. The Pharaoh's Ba, his soul, detaches from the cooling flesh. It hovers in the air, disoriented. It looks for the familiar solar barge of the Aten, the Monjet, to carry it to eternal life. But the Aten is a god of the living sky, not the hidden world. No one comes. Instead, there is a pull, a cold, ancient gravity from below the earth. It is a pull Akhenaten had ordered his people to ignore, a path he had declared obsolete. The Pharaoh's Ba drifts, pulled backward in time, past the temples he had desecrated, past the colossal statues he had defaced, past the millions of hieroglyphs where the name Amun had been chiseled out by his stonemasons. He is dragged down, through the Aker, the gates of the earth, into the starless dark of the Duat. He does not arrive as a king. He arrives as a saccage. His essence is cast upon the floor of a vast, silent chamber. This is the Hall of Two Truths. 42 thrones, carved from obsidian, line the walls. Upon them sit the assessors of the dead, gods of shadow and whispers, gods of forgotten gnomes, gods whose names he had ordered erased from existence. They are all here, and they are all watching him. At the far end, Osiris, Lord of the Dead, watches from his throne, his green skin illuminated by a cold, silver light. Beside him, Thoth, the ibis-headed god of records, unrolls a fresh papyrus, his divine eyes already fixed on the Pharaoh. And in the center of the hall, the great golden scales. They stand taller than a man, wrought of black basalt and celestial gold, perfectly balanced. Waiting beside them is the guardian. He is silent, muscular, and poised, his head that of a sacred jackal. Anubis, the opener of the ways. He has been waiting for this Pharaoh. Type continue to generate the next section. The confession of the Aten Anubis remains perfectly still, his jackal eyes reflecting the cold light of the hall. He does not speak, but his will is absolute. He gestures. It is time for the negative confession. The Ba of Akhenaten rises, coalescing into the phantom shape of the Pharaoh. He still wears the proud crown of the two lands, his elongated features set in the serene, alien expression he had decreed for his own art. He looks at the 42 assessors, these grim, bestial, and terrifying forms. He had taught his people that these were lies, superstitions, faded nightmares from a primitive age. He had taught that there was only the Aten, and the Aten was a god of light and love, not of judgment and shadow. Yet here in the dark, the shadows are divine. I am pure. I am pure. I am pure. The Pharaoh's essence whispers, the words echoing with the force of royal command. He begins the confession, addressing the first assessor. O Usek Nemtet, he of the long stride, who comes forth from Heliopolis, I have not done iniquity. A low growl emanates from the pantheon. Heliopolis was the city of Rai, the god Akhenaten had tried to erase, merging his identity into the Aten. The assessor's eyes burn. The Pharaoh continues, his voice gaining its familiar prophetic cadence. O Fenty, he of the nose, who comes forth from Hermopolis, I have not stolen. Thoth, the lord of Hermopolis, pauses his reed pen. He looks up, his ibis head tilted, as if listening to a profound blasphemy. Akhenaten turns to another. O Neheb Kau, he who unites the Ka, I have not spoken falsehood. But the very air in the hall ripples, as if rejecting the words. For 17 years, his entire kingdom had been built on a new, singular truth that declared all this hall, these gods, this very judgment, to be the ultimate lie. He recites the list, not as a plea, but as a declaration. He had transcended these petty mortal sins. He had lived in Ma'at, his Ma'at, the truth of the Aten. O eater of entrails, he proclaims, I have not erased the name of a god. A terrible silence descends. It is so profound it becomes a sound. The 42 assessors lean forward as one. Osiris, on his throne, grips his crook and flail. Akhenaten had not just erased a name. He had commanded the chisels that hammered Amun from 100,000 monuments. He had ordered the temples of Mut, Khonsu, Isis, and even Osiris himself to be shuttered, their estates seized, their priesthood starved. His confession is not just a failure. It is a boast. It is the final, arrogant act of his heresy, delivered in the very heart of the reality he denied. Thoth's pen scratches furiously on the papyrus, the sound like a viper hissing in the silence. Anubis has heard enough. The jackal god steps forward, his movements swift and silent. He does not wait for the Pharaoh to finish. He raises a hand, and the Pharaoh's voice is cut off, as if his throat had been filled with sand. The time for words is over. The time for the heart has come. Anubis holds out his other hand. He demands the Pharaoh's IB, the seat of his consciousness, his memory, his intent. The Pharaoh's essence trembles, and a small, spectral shape, the heart pot, manifests and floats into the god's dark palm. Anubis turns to the scales. This is not a ritual. It is an investigation. Type continue to generate the next section. Section 3. The weight of the void. Anubis, the divine embalmer, whose hands have known the precise weight of every sin, lifts the Pharaoh's heart. He places it in the left-hand pan of the great golden scales. The pan dips slightly. On the other side, the goddess Ma'at herself, the tall, serene woman with the ostrich feather in her headband, steps from the shadows. She does not look at the Pharaoh. She looks only at the scales, the instrument of her very essence. She plucks the single white feather of Iset, of truth, from her band, and places it gently in the right-hand pan. The hall of two truths holds its breath. This is the moment of balance or oblivion. Every heart is heavy with the small sins of life. A lie, a theft, a moment of greed. The feather, impossibly light, is the measure of divine, absolute truth. For a just soul, the heart would be made light by confession, and the scales would balance. For a sinner, the heart would be heavy, and the scales would tip. But Akhenaten was not a just soul, and he was not a simple sinner. The pan holding his heart sinks. It sinks slowly at first, and the assessors nod grimly. They have seen this before. Ammit, the devourer of the dead, shuffles her composite limbs, her crocodile jaws parting in anticipation. But then, the scale does not stop. The golden pan holding the Pharaoh's heart plummets. It slams against the basalt base with a sound like a tomb door sealing forever. Thud. but it is the other side of the scale that draws the gasp from the gods. The pan holding the feather of Maat does not just rise. It flies upward, striking the crossbeam with a violent clang. And the feather changes. It ceases to be white. It trembles, darkens, turning a sickly gray. It begins to disintegrate. The very concept of truth in the presence of this heart is unmade. The feather of Maat dissolves into a puff of black ash, which is instantly sucked downward, drawn by the gravity of the heart in the other pan. Anubis recoils, his jackal hand snatching back as if burned. He has weighed kings and farmers, murderers and saints. He has weighed hearts heavy with the blood of armies, and hearts light as desert air. This is different. He leans forward, his dark animal eyes staring at the heart. It is not heavy with sin. It is not the weight of murder or theft or blasphemy. It is the weight of nothing. Akhenaten, in his zeal, had not just ignored the gods of the Duat. He had, with all the power of a Pharaoh, uncreated them in the minds of his people. He had replaced the intricate, ancient machinery of the afterlife, the cycles of Osiris, the journey of Ra, the judgment of the soul, with a single, blinding, empty idea. The Aten, a god who had no realm for the dead, a god who offered no path, no judgment, no resurrection. His heart is a void. It is an existential black hole, a piece of anti-reality. It is not sinful according to the law. It is an error that devours the law. The devourer, Amit, who was created to eat the hearts of the wicked, lets out a high, terrible whine. She scrambles backward, her hippo legs digging at the stone floor, trying to get away. She cannot eat this. This is not a soul. It is the absence of one. The gods of the pantheon are on their feet. Thoth's reed pen has snapped in his hand. Osiris, lord of the dead, is white-knuckled on his throne, his immortal eyes wide. This is the sin that terrifies them. A heretic has died, and in doing so, he has brought a weapon into their realm that they cannot judge, cannot punish, and cannot destroy. It is a sin that threatens to unravel the very fabric of the Duat itself. Section 4. The contagion of emptiness. The groaning of the golden scales is the only sound. The pan holding the Pharaoh's heart continues to sink, as if it is not just in the hall, but attempting to burrow through it, to drain the Duat of its very foundation. The black tarnish on the gold pan is spreading. It crawls up the golden chain like a stain, a wisp of anti-existence, leaching the divine metal of its light and integrity. The very air around the scales grows colder, dimmer. Blasphemy, cries out one of the assessors, a serpent-headed god. Cast it to the lake of fire. The fire will not burn it, hisses another, a crocodile god from the Fayum. The fire is. This is not. Thoth steps forward, his ibis eyes wide with a terrible, intellectual horror. He raises his hand, and the gods fall silent. Fools, Thoth's voice rasps, not in anger, but in cold realization. Do you not see? This is not a heart heavy with actions. It is a heart heavy with absence. He did not just deny the Duat. He, with the full power of a living Pharaoh, erased it from the world above. His soul is a wound. Thoth points his long divine finger at the scales. He has brought the emptiness of the Aten, a god of the above, into the below. He has created a place where Mahat cannot exist. It is not just heavy. It is drawing. The gods look. The floor stones around the scale's base are losing their color, fading to a uniform, ashen gray. The shadows of the 42 assessors, once dark and absolute, now seem thin, watery. The Pharaoh's heart is drinking the very essence of the underworld. The Ba of Akhenaten, hovering nearby, finally speaks. It has watched this, not with fear, but with the serene, detached arrogance of a prophet. Your shadows fade. The Pharaoh's essence whispers, its voice cold and clear. My light has come. Where is my father? Where is the Aten? This house of lies is at an end. This is the final, unthinkable horror. The Ba is not a victim. It is a vessel. It is still actively, faithfully channeling the void. His belief is the weapon. Osiris, Lord of the Dead, rises from his throne. His green-skinned face is a mask of cold fury and something deeper, fear. His entire existence is based on the cycle: death, preservation, judgment, and rebirth. This is uncreation. It is the antithesis of his being. It cannot remain, Osiris proclaims, his voice the sound of a tomb scraping shut. It cannot be judged. It cannot be eaten. It cannot be... Here, he turns to Thoth. Recorder of the gods, you will scribe a new sentence. This soul shall not be sent to the fields of Aru. It shall not be devoured by Ammit. It will be unmade. Thoth holds up his hand, showing the snapped reed pen. My lord of the West, how? How do we unmake a nothing? How do we destroy that which is already the end of existence? There is no spell for this. He has broken the law of death. The gods are frozen. For the first time in eternity, the divine order has met a sin it cannot process. They have no ritual, no magic, no answer. In the center of the hall, Anubis, the opener of the ways, has remained silent, his jackal head lowered, staring at the abomination on his scales. He brought this soul here. It is his ritual that has failed, his hall that is being unmade. He raises his head. His dark eyes burn with a sudden, terrible resolve. He is the god of thresholds, the one who stands between the worlds. If the laws of this world have failed, he will have to step outside them. If it cannot be judged, Anubis speaks, his voice a low growl that cuts through the divine panic. It must be bound. He steps toward the scales, toward the epicenter of the cold. His hands, the hands that embalmed the first gods, begin to glow with a dark, purple-black energy. The power of preservation, but inverted, not to keep life in, but to seal an emptiness away. He's going to touch it. Section 5. The Scar of Anubis. He does not hesitate. Anubis plunges his dark, glowing hands directly into the pan, closing them around the pharaoh's heart. There is no sound, no explosion. There is a reversal, a soundless implosion, a gasp from the universe itself. The moment the god of preservation touches the nothing, the void bites back. The dark, purple energy coiling around Anubis's arms is devoured. It is not overcome. It is annihilated. The heart, the Ib, acts like a spiritual caustic, and a flash of agonizing, cold light travels up the god's arms. Anubis howls, a sharp, high-pitched cry of a jackal that echoes with divine pain. The gods watch in terror as the fur on Anubis's forearm turns brittle white, then gray, then disappears, revealing the dark, mummified muscle and bone beneath. The essence of the god is being unmade by the contact. Withdraw, my son, Osiris commands, rising from his throne, his voice booming with the authority of the first mummified god. But Anubis holds on. His fangs are bared, his body locked in a terrible rigor. He is the threshold. He is the balance. If he lets go, the contagion will consume the hall, then the duat, then the very memory of Egypt itself. He is not just touching the heart, he is embalming it. By the first knot, by the oil of the Ankh, by the natron that binds. Anubis snarls, his voice distorting. He is not reciting a spell from any papyrus. He is creating one, tearing the power from his own Ka. his own divine life force. He is wrapping the void not in linen, but in law. He pours his own essence into the heart. The ancient magic of mummification, the power that denies decay, inverted to enforce stasis. He is building a sarcophagus of pure magic around the emptiness. The Pharaoh's Ba, which had been watching with serene arrogance, suddenly screams. Its ethereal form flashes and contorts. The Ba and the Ib, soul and heart, are one. As Anubis binds the heart, the soul is chained. The Pharaoh's connection to the Aten, to the light, is being forcibly severed by the dark, ancient magic he had despised. No. My father, the light, the light. The Ba shrieks, but its voice is already growing thin, its form flickering like a spent candle. With a final shattering roar, Anubis rips the heart from the golden pan. He lifts it high. It is no longer a spectral organ. It is a thing. A sphere of perfect, light-devouring black. No larger than a fist, pulsing with a cold that makes the gods flinch. It is bound in glowing, purple-black hieroglyphs. The new spell, written in the divine energy of Anubis himself. The scales, released, swing violently. The pan that held the heart is scarred, its celestial gold permanently stained a dead, ashen gray. Anubis is breathing heavily, his divine form trembling. He lowers his right arm. From the elbow to the wrist, it is a ruin, a withered, blackened limb, smoking with a cold, dusty mist. It is the permanent scar of his victory, the price of touching the void. The Hall of Two Truths is silent. The encroaching gray on the floor has stopped. The gods' shadows have returned. But the terror has not passed. It has simply changed. The void is not gone. It is contained. Anubis holds in his hand an eternal prison, and inside it, the conscious, screaming, empty heart of the heretic Pharaoh. It is an artifact of pure anti-reality, a weapon that cannot be destroyed. Thoth stares at the black sphere, his mind calculating the impossible. He is bounded. But what is it now? Osiris looks at the bound heart in Anubis's hand. He looks at the weeping, fading Ba of Akhenaten, and he looks at the scar on his son's immortal arm. The judgment has failed. The laws of the afterlife are broken, and the gods are left with a monster they cannot kill and a soul they cannot judge. Section 6. The unsentence. The black sphere in Anubis's hand pulses with a cold, malignant awareness. It is no longer just a void. It is a prison, and inside it, the conscious, terrified, empty heart of the heretic Pharaoh. But the Ba, the Pharaoh's soul, still hovers in the hall. It is a wisp of royal light, diminished, flickering, and now, finally, afraid. Its connection to the Aten is gone, severed by Anubis's binding. Its connection to the Duat has been rejected by the scales. It is an echo, tethered to nothing. It drifts before the throne of Osiris, its arrogant, alien features now twisted in a plea. Lord of the West, mercy, I did not know. I followed my truth. Mayat. Osiris, whose own body is a testament to preservation and resurrection, looks at the Ba with eyes as cold and green as the Nile in winter. Your truth. Osiris speaks, his voice the sound of stone grinding on stone. You came to my hall, and your truth unmade the feather of my sister Mayat. You brought a lie that devours. You did not break the law, heretic. You sought to replace it. Osiris rises from his throne, his divine authority flooding the hall. The judgment of the scales has failed, he proclaims. The devourer, Amit, turns away. The fields of Aru would wither at your touch. The lake of fire would be extinguished by your presence. There is no place for you in my kingdom. Not in paradise, not in punishment. The Ba shrivels. Then Let me be unmade. Let me be nothing. You are nothing, Osiris counters, his voice laced with a terrible divine irony. You created it. You are it, and you shall be it. He turns not to Thoth, the recorder, but to Anubis, the enforcer. My son, you have bound the IB. Now you will finish the mummification. Anubis, his face a mask of grim duty, his withered arm held stiffly at his side, turns his good hand toward the Ba. The soul shrieks and tries to flee, but there is no escape from the hall of two truths. You wish to be one with your God, Osiris decrees. You shall instead be made one with your sin. You will be the Ka for your own emptiness, the consciousness for your own oblivion. Anubis clenches his fist. The Ba of Akhenaten is drawn, against its will, across the hall. It is pulled, screaming and stretching, into a thin ribbon of spectral light. Anubis forces it, not into the sphere, but onto it. He wraps the soul around the bound heart, pressing the screaming consciousness of the Pharaoh into the fabric of the void he created. The Ba is fused. The IB is contained. They are now one inseparable thing, a conscious, eternal nothing. The sphere in Anubis's hand flares with a final, silent pulse of despair, and then is still. It is done. The 42 assessors are silent. This is a judgment outside of time, outside of all law. Thoth, the recorder, looks at his blank papyrus. My lord, what do I write? How is this sentence recorded for the future? Osiris looks at the scarred scales. He looks at his son's mutilated arm. He looks at the terrible, silent artifact in Anubis's hand. You will write nothing, Osiris commands. Thoth looks up, stunned. My lord? This day did not happen, Osiris proclaims, his voice absolute. This Pharaoh did not arrive. This sin was not committed. The name Akhenaten will be erased from the ledgers of the Duat, just as he sought to erase the names of the gods. Let him have his void. His punishment is not to be punished. His punishment is to not be. This is the true terror. They are covering it up. They are erasing the divine record, lest any other soul, mortal or god, learn of this weapon, this sin of uncreation. Anubis is left standing in the center of the hall, holding the sphere. It is the only evidence. And this, he asks, his voice a low growl. Osiris looks at his son, his eyes filled with a new, grim duty. You are the opener of the ways, Anubis. You stand at the threshold of all worlds. This thing cannot be destroyed. It cannot be buried. It cannot remain in my realm. He gestures to the darkness beyond the hall. You will find a new way. Not to the heavens, not to the earth. A way out. Cast it into the none, the unformed, chaotic waters before creation. Let it drift forever. In the endless dark it so resembles. Anubis nods once. He turns from the pantheon. He does not look back at the scarred scales or the terrified gods, cradling the silent, screaming void in his good hand, his withered arm a testament to the price of Makat. The jackal god walks alone out of the hall of two truths and into the infinite darkness to find a place to lose a pharaoh's soul forever.